The television droned, casting flickering shadows across Michael's cramped apartment. Rain lashed against the windows, a constant drumming that mirrored the unease creeping into his chest. He scrolled through his phone, a futile attempt to distract himself from the oppressive loneliness of the night. That's when he saw it. Ghost Cam, the ad proclaimed. See what your eyes can't. Intrigued, Michael downloaded it. He half expected a cheesy prank app. What he got instead sent a shiver down his spine. The app opened to a grainy live feed of his own living room, but something was different. A faint, shimmering figure hovered near his bookshelf, its form indistinct yet undeniably present. Fear, cold and clammy, tightened its grip on him. He moved. The figure remained, its vacant eyes seemingly fixed on him through the screen. His finger trembled as he navigated to the app's information page. The creator was anonymous, the reviews a mix of skepticism and terror. One review, however, caught his eye. "This app doesn't show you ghosts," it read. "It shows you the truth." Michael's pulse quickened. What truth was this app revealing? And what did it mean for him alone in his apartment with something he couldn't comprehend? The rain continued its relentless assault on the windows. Michael, unable to tear his gaze from the app, paced his apartment, the ghostly figure moving with him, a spectral stalker bound to his every step. He held the phone up to each room, his heart pounding with a mixture of dread and morbid curiosity. The app revealed nothing in his bedroom, nothing in the bathroom. But when he pointed the camera at the spare room, the room he kept locked and untouched, the app flickered. The ghostly figure intensified, its form solidifying into that of a young woman with sad eyes and a melancholic smile. She seemed familiar, yet he couldn't place her. He felt an urge to know her story, to unravel the mystery that clung to her like a shroud. He searched for information about the app, scouring online forums for anything that could explain its eerie accuracy. He found stories of others who had encountered similar apparitions, tales of long-forgotten tragedies and restless spirits seeking solace. The stories, though unsettling, strangely comforted him. He wasn't alone in this. Yet, the question remained. Who was the woman in his spare room, and what was she trying to tell him? He felt a responsibility, an unspoken obligation to uncover her story. Little did he know, the pursuit of truth would lead him down a path far darker than he could have ever imagined. Days turned into nights. Sleep was a luxury Michael could no longer afford. He delved into the history of his apartment building, unearthing a past steeped in sorrow and shadowed by tragedy. The building, he discovered, had once been a boarding house, its once grand facade now masked by peeling paint and neglect. He learned of a fire decades ago that claimed the lives of several residents, their souls forever entwined with the building's very foundation. His research led him to a name, Sarah. She had lived in apartment 4B, his apartment, and had perished in the fire. Her story was a tragic one, a tale of unrequited love and a life cut short. Michael looked back at the ghostly figure on his phone, her sad eyes burning into his. Sarah. He whispered her name, a cold shiver running down his spine. His apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt heavy with unseen grief, the air thick with a palpable sense of sorrow. He felt her presence most strongly at night, the soft whisper of her spectral form brushing past him in the hallway, the scent of lavender, her favorite, lingering in the air. He was living with a ghost, bound to her by the very walls that held them both captive. But his fear gave way to a strange sort of comfort. A new emotion crept into Michael's heart, guilt. He realized that Sarah wasn't a threat. She was trapped, seeking solace, a voice in the silence. And he, armed with the knowledge of her past, might be the only one who could help her find peace. Driven by a newfound purpose, Michael focused his energy on understanding Sarah. He discovered she was a gifted artist, her talent tragically cut short by the fire. He found sketches she had drawn, portraits filled with life and longing, hidden behind loose floorboards in the spare room. Each stroke of her charcoal told a story, a silent scream of unfulfilled potential. He learned about her lover, a young musician named Thomas, who had left for the city, promising to return for her. He never did. Sarah, heartbroken and alone, had perished in the fire, clutching a faded photograph of Thomas, her final thoughts consumed by a love that never bloomed. The more Michael learned, the more Sarah's presence intensified, her sadness palpable, her despair almost unbearable. Through the GhostCam app, he attempted communication. He placed her sketches around the apartment, hoping for a sign, a flicker of recognition on her spectral face. And then, one night, it happened. As he held up a sketch of Thomas, the one Sarah had died clutching, the app flickered violently. Sarah turned towards him, her features softer, a flicker of gratitude in her eyes. For the first time since her appearance, Michael didn't feel fear, but a profound sadness for the life Sarah had been denied, the future stolen from her. He knew what he had to do. He had to find Thomas to give Sarah the closure she desperately craved. His search for the truth had become a mission, a quest for redemption, for both himself and the ghost who haunted his apartment. Michael's search for Thomas was long and arduous, a trail of dead ends and faded memories. He scoured online databases, visited libraries, contacted historical societies, piecing together the fragments of a life lived decades ago. He discovered that Thomas, after leaving for the city, had achieved moderate success as a musician. His name lost to time, but his music echoing faintly through old recordings. He found a photograph of Thomas in his later years, a man bearing the weight of time on his face, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of unspoken regrets. It was then, staring at that picture, that a chilling realization washed over Michael. The features, the eyes, the melancholic smile, they mirrored his own reflection in an unsettling way. He delved back into his own family history, unearthing a long-forgotten truth. His grandmother, a woman he barely remembered, had been adopted. Her biological father's name was Thomas, a musician who had left his lover behind, a woman named Sarah. The truth struck him with the force of a physical blow. Thomas, the man who had broken Sarah's heart, was his great-grandfather. He was connected to this tragic story not just by circumstance, but by blood. He looked at the GhostCam app, at Sarah's image. She seemed to be watching him, her expression unreadable. Was it judgment he saw in her eyes, or a flicker of understanding? He had sought the truth, but the truth had a way of unraveling long-held beliefs, of revealing the ghosts we carry within ourselves. The rain had stopped. The storm outside had been replaced by a storm within him. He was left grappling not only with the reality of Sarah's presence, but also with the weight of his own family's past. The guilt, the sorrow, the unanswered questions, they swirled around him, threatening to consume him. He knew he couldn't change the past, but he could honor Sarah's memory. He continued to live in apartment 4B, but it no longer felt haunted by tragedy. It felt like a sanctuary, a place where he could remember Sarah, not with fear, but with a sense of peace. He kept her sketches displayed, her presence a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of love, even in the face of loss. The GhostCam app lay forgotten, its purpose served. He had glimpsed the unseen, had confronted not only the ghosts of the past, but also the ghosts within himself. He carried the weight of their stories, the sorrow and the regret, but also the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity for forgiveness, and the enduring hope for peace. The rain may have stopped, but the echoes of the storm, like the memories of those who came before, would forever linger.